Okay guys, I wanted to take a second and answer one of the more popular questions I've been getting right now. And that is, how do I know if my eyes are wide enough to run a set of big eyes? So the width that these things are set at, or your binoculars, is what we call the pupillary distance. The center from one eyepiece to the next eyepiece, the center from one of your eyes to your other eye, that's your pupillary distance. So before you purchase a set of big eyes, you want to make sure that the big eyes get close enough together that you can see through them. Big eyes don't work the exact same way binoculars do, in a sense that because these eyepieces are smaller and these tubes are smaller, you can generally get these down closer than you can get a set of big eyes. So you can use your binoculars, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can use all the big eyes that we offer. So what you want to do is you want to measure your pupillary distance on your binoculars, and then you want to compare that to the pupillary distance that I have documented on the website and see that your eyes are wide enough to run any particular set of big eyes. The way I found to do that seems to be the most accurate method that I can do at my house, is with just a simple set of calipers or a tape measure and my binoculars. Now, if you have eyeglasses, you've been to the optometrist, you know they can measure your pupillary distance in the office. But without going to the office, or if you don't have one, you can do it yourself with calipers, tape measure, and your binoculars. What you're going to want to do is set your binoculars up so you can see through them comfortably. Be honest with yourself, look through them, go back and forth until you feel like they're just perfect. They're not too wide, they're not too narrow, there's no black shadowing around the inside or the outside. Everything feels comfortable. That's where you would run them all day if you were glassing. Then what you're going to want to do is simply measure over the ocular lenses. Now, if you have eye cups that unscrew, this aluminum that's exposed down here is more precise than this rubber up here on top. So I would suggest making your measurement down here. Wherever you make your measurement on your lens, that's where you're going to make the measurement on the overall. So the way we're going to do that is, in this case, I'm going to measure in here on this aluminum. I'm going to take my calipers and I'm just going to measure one of the eyepieces. I'm going to measure in that area. I'm going to write down that number. Then I'm going to measure the overall. I'm going to write that number down. Then all you do is simply subtract one eyepiece from the overall. So we're going to pretend this is 3 inches and this is a half of an inch. Then it's just 3 inches minus a half inch, which is 2.5 inches to center. Your pupillary distance would be 2.5 inches. And you can do that on multiple sets of binoculars, and you'll find out that you're going to get a little bit of a variance just from moving your binoculars in or out and then setting them up again. You're going to get 10 thousandths, maybe 20 thousandths different every single time. That's because we're doing this by feel, and you're not going to be able to get it exactly the same every single time, but it's going to give you a really good reference. So if you're measuring with these binoculars and you're getting 2.6, you're going to hop online and you're going to find out the pupillary distance of any one of the big eyes that you're looking into. And you're just going to make sure that your eyes are wide enough that you can run these different big eyes. So like I said, you can measure any binoculars, any scopes, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be the same formula with different numbers. So these 10s actually have the same diameter as the 15s, but it's the same idea, right? So just inside that area, one eyepiece. This overall minus one eyepiece gives you the center. Simple as that. Then you're going to see that these big eyes, like these 66s for instance, these ones actually get down a physical measurement of 2 inches center to center. Now the only other obstacle that you're ever going to have with a set of big eyes is where the bridge of your nose runs into the eyepieces. So even though these get down to 2 inches, if you had a wider nose, you might find out that your nose actually runs in to this little corner before the center of your eyes get high enough to see through the big eyes. And then you find yourself opening up the big eyes to make room for your nose, but then they're too wide for your eyes. So that's why you'll see that I would say probably 90% of guys that run big eyes take these rubber eye cups off. If you take these rubber eye cups off, it does two things. One, it gives you more area in the center for your nose to fit comfortably. So if you are trying to get them as close together as possible, if you do have narrower eyes, this will help out. The other thing taking the eye cups off does is it changes that eye relief a little bit. What that does is that gives you a bigger, what I call your sight window, your perceived field of view. It makes it look like you're looking at a bigger screen. Now, your technical field of view doesn't change, but what you're looking at in this ocular lens, it's just bigger. So even if you don't have to take these off, most guys will find that they can see better if they do take them off. So by taking off these rubber eye cups, you'll see that you get more room for your nose and a better field of view, or perceived field of view. So that's one of the tricks that we use. If you're running the STCs, the same thing. These rubber eye cups will unscrew and they will make more room for your nose to fit inside here. Now with these STCs, these are a straight tube, so they can only get together as close as the objectives will allow when they're touching. So with something like these 66s, the objectives are farther apart, but because the scopes have a jog in them, the eyepieces actually get closer together. So with the 66s, with the Swaro 65s or the 80s, any of those scopes that have a jog in them, you'll be able to get bigger objectives with eyepieces that get closer together. With these small compact spotters, this is only 56 millimeter, but because the scope is straight, you can only get these together as close as this objective will allow. So this rubber outer coating is touching in these ones right here. This is as close as I can get this setup together. But if you measure them, you're getting 2.560. So these are actually wider than these. Now these have bigger objectives, 66 millimeter, but because of the S-jog in the scope, the eyepieces get closer together. Same thing with the Swarovski 65s, same thing with the Swarovski 80s. This S-jog allows them to get closer together. These compact spotters, straight, that's your limitation. As soon as these objectives touch, they're not getting any closer. So these ones are 2.560. So I just want to take a second, show you guys how I did it here at the house. That's how I measure my pupillary distance. It's not 100% perfect. Like I said, if you go to your optometrist, it's probably going to be a little bit more accurate, but that's at least going to tell you if you're in the ballpark to running one of these sets of big eyes. If you're measuring 2.2 to 2.3, there's not going to be any set of big eyes that your eyes are going to fit into. If you're measuring 2.6, 2.7, you can run anything. If you're in between, you just have to look at the documentation on the website that shows you what the pupillary distance is of each one of the set of big eyes to help you pick out the set. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help.